Welcome, everybody. I'd like to thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining the Halal in Travel Global Summit hosted by Crescent Rating. I'm going to be your moderator for this wonderful session, AI and Ethics, Developing Human-Centric AI Systems. My name is Shahed Amanullah. I am an investor and a mentor of global Islamic economy startups around the world. I am the managing director of Frost Capital, which is an ethically guided financial private equity firm. I'm also the co-founder and COO of Zabihah, Global Halal Restaurant Guide. And I'm also managing director of Endeavor, which is a Palestine-based digital solutions provider. We've got a great panel today. This is a really, really important topic because, AI has only meaningfully been with us for the last 2 years. Before that, it was just one of those things that you saw in the movies and you read about, and it was this very far away thing. But now it's become very real. And in many ways, the implications of AI have presented themselves before we've had a really meaningful chance to discuss what it means for us and how it's going to change our lives. Like, make no mistake about it, AI is going to be as transformative for our societies as the internet was and as past kind of industrial revolutions, et cetera, in times past. So if we're going to make sure that this is something that benefits humanity, we have to have these very open and blunt conversations. And we've got a great group of people who can help lead us in that conversation. And it's going to be very interesting because I really respect all these people. Our panelists include Rafiuddin Shikoh. He's someone I've had the pleasure of working with for many, many years. He's a growth strategy and thought leader and execution specialist. He works with government agencies, investors, and corporates. He's really passionate about solving for limited global innovations coming from Islamic economies. And he's currently focused on driving the confluence of global innovations and prioritizing global social impact needs. He's the founder and CEO of Dinar Standard, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. It's a specialized growth strategy and execution advisory platform. Faisal Masood is joining us. He's also someone who's has got a long history for anyone who's been involved in this space. He's a technology and operations leader with over 25 years of experience in various leadership roles in banking and financial consulting. He's also an expert in technology transformation, building and scaling tech teams, optimizing and improving the bottom line for various organizations. He's worked for 20 years in key infrastructure technology roles at JP Morgan Chase and Ernst & Young. He's also been a key player in mobilizing and organizing people in the global Islamic economy. Like, we're part of all these same networks, and it's really a pleasure to have you here with us. And then next we have Insha Tazeen. Insha is a young entrepreneur who specializes in AI and cybersecurity. She's passionate about fostering innovation and making a positive impact. She's immersed in things like digital literacy, women's inclusion in tech, and empowering Muslim communities. So I'm really, really, really happy to have all of you here with us. This is people have been dazzled by what AI can do because they're seeing all these examples of answering questions and talking to us, and like the whole idea of a Turing test is kind of blown out of the water because we can have a conversation with AI. But there have been certain people who have been at the forefront of the thought process around AI, really trying to get people to stop and think about how we can make sure these systems are designed with human rights and ethical considerations at the forefront. I know a lot of leaders in the AI movement have done things like write open letters and things like that, trying to make sure people are alerted with this. But I really want to ask, this panel, and I want to start with you, Rafi, on this. We haven't even begun to understand how we can embed human rights and human values and ethics into this framework of AI. So how do we approach that? And I'm not necessarily talking about a technical perspective. It's a much larger discussion than that. But Rafi, why don't we start with you?
Thank you, Shahed. And first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for attending this, and in particular Crescent Rating for having started this great series of events and bringing these important topics for us to have a good discussion. I mean, this is an opportunity, Shahed, Faisal, Insha, to actually have a discussion, which we don't get that much of an opportunity to have. So in terms of framing this very consequential question, which Shahed, as you very well know, is top of mind for many of the innovators in AI. Right? So the ethics in AI, there's a lot we talked about bias, biases that come in when AI will be answering on behalf of financial institutions on who to give finances to or not, and what profile or education. All, I mean, it's got across the board implications. And I mean, if I can just speak in context of this global Islamic economy context, first of all, whenever we deal with an opportunity, like you said, this is AI itself is going to have it already is having an incredible impact, the scale of which probably we've never seen before. You talked about the internet, but the impact could be much more than even that, given what we're already seeing and possibilities, good and bad. And I think both are already being manifested, which makes this topic of ethics in AI and human-centric AI systems so important. So first, if we, as analysts, as strategists, as thought leaders, when we take away the dazzle of AI, which I think there's a lot of fervor and excitement about the novelty and the newness of AI. Ultimately, this is a tool or enablement paradigm that's improving efficiency and productivity, right? And it's bringing, AI just for the sake of AI is not, it's nothing. It's what it's doing with it. When we talk about generative AI and insights we're getting, and we're seeing all the utilization of software now being enabled automatically. And we've heard some of the CEO of NVIDIA and others talking about, well, software developers may not ever be needed, and as an extreme example. But I think,
by the way, I find it really odd that some of the most talented software developers in the world are designing the systems to replace themselves. Like, it seems really amazing to me.
So I think my first point, kind of going in circle, but coming to your question, and I'll pause there, is that we have to look at AI for the fundamentals of what it is, first and foremost. What is its utility? Because you get lost sometimes in the in the excitement and, oh, robots are going to take the world over, and we will the Armageddon type of a scenario. The good thing is, Islamic perspective on this would be, we don't control any of that. It is in God's hands, so we don't worry about it, right? But the fundamental of AI, I think if we focus on it, that helps. And then from a values and ethics point of view, certainly, I think we should have our ethics and values that are already being embedded across our Islamic economy ecosystem. So when we talk about financing, equitable financing, ethical considerations, and in how excessive, the non-interest-based financing, ethical consideration, who you invest in, I think all those considerations should manifest and get translated to the realm of what AI is enabling now. So I think I would just start, Shahed, with those fundamental components. I think, this is, we've got to have the fundamentals and basics front and center to address this, would be my question.
No, I think that's a good point, because AI, like capitalism, like all these other things, it's amoral. It takes on the morals of the people that are operating on it. So I think that's a really great place to start. I'd love to open this up to Faisal or Insha if you have any other reflections on that question, because it's core to this, is because we're approaching this as we want to make sure that these values are embedded. So what's the approach we need to have? And then there's all sorts of follow-up questions that we can go into.
Yeah. So thank you, Shahed. So thanks to Halal in Travel Global Summit, which is organized by Crescent Rating, for giving us the opportunity to, give our insights, our experience as to how this industry is going to shape. And so first, let's talk about, and I know you have talked about AI. Let's talk about AI ethics. right? Because it's important to kind of understand why we are talking about ethics in AI. And I always kind of say that AI ethics is not just a governance and to improve the outcome of the AI, but I see AI ethics as a multidisciplinary field so that we can optimize and reduce risk and adverse outcome. When I say optimization, absolutely any system is designed to optimize. Am I right? As technologists, we know we always aim for faster, better, and cheaper. Right? That has been the mantra all along in our life whenever we are developing any technology system or whenever we are talking about technology, because technology is all about faster, better, cheaper. And now when AI is coming in and we are saying that, it is going to, in a way, it is going to replace human being, which I don't agree with, and I'll talk more about it. But that's what everyone is talking. Every layman is saying, "Oh, AI is going to replace human being. Everything is going to be done by robots." And I always say that, it's not possible. And let me kind of rephrase it as to what we are talking about and what we have been thinking about in terms of ethics of AI. So there are 5 pillars which we kind of propagate as to what AI ethics is: transparency, robustness, fairness, explainable, and data privacy. All right. Now, we can talk about all of these things, and the most important thing is data, because as you know, majority of the AI systems are data driven. There are large amount of data, and based on that data, you predict, you develop pattern, and then you kind of give the outcome. So that's the 5 pillar which we kind of will talk more in general. And then there are principles, and there are 3 principles which I always kind of say that every AI engineer should, or every person who is working in AI should know about it. The very first principle is AI is not going to replace human beings. So that's the first principle, right? And the second principle is, which I always talk about, because data, and we have, as engineers, we have to make sure that data is protected, that data belongs to the creator, right? Because a lot of time, we can take any data and we can infer it, but if we don't give the if we don't say that this data belongs to that creator, and if we don't give that, that kind of mandate, then we are defeating the whole aspect.
I mean, this is the subject of a lot of lawsuits right now, because you can't tie it back. It's like you need an isnad for the data.
Absolutely. And the third principle is AI should be transparent and explainable, right? And when I say transparent and explainable, and again, Shahed and Rafi and Insha, you know that we never depend on a technologist to develop a system. A technology is always mandated by people, process, and technology. Right? We have to have the right talent, we have to have the right process, and we have to have the right technology, and that culminates into a development of system. So, from that aspect of how we make it transparent and explainable, in our ecosystem, I'll talk more about as to how we can we as technologists would make sure that AI systems are ethical and based on standards.
No, that's fantastic, and I appreciate your reference to the quality of data, because already we're seeing feedback loops as AI are trained on open public models, and those public models are starting to be filled with AI generated. So now you're getting this feedback loop, and how is that going to affect things? And furthermore, in some of the earliest incarnations of AI tools, you noticed that some of them were generating racist content because it's garbage in, garbage out, right? The AI doesn't have a soul. The AI doesn't have like a framework. It just it's trying to mimic and trying to learn from the public. And there are many racist systems and institutions out there. And so it's learning from that. So I want to turn to Insha for this next question, because I know you've been thinking about this for a while. So given, first of all, given who's at the forefront of AI, there's privileged people in the West generally are doing this, although there's some really neat efforts that are happening outside the West to try to catch up with this. But how can we make sure that inclusivity is integrated in the development of these tools so that they can serve diverse populations equitably? That's I think something that's people are ringing the alarm bells on. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Shahed, and thank you everyone in this panel, and thank you special for Crescent Rating for having me here. So integrating inclusivity in the AI development, I think to ensure that the AI technologies serve diverse population equally, inclusivity must be woven into like the fabric of AI development right from the start, like right from the inception. This can include like assembling development teams with diverse backgrounds, ethnicities, and cultures. Secondly, also we should ensure that the data sets reflect a broad spectrum of demographics by engaging like stakeholders from varied social, economic, racial, and cultural backgrounds to gather insights and identify potential biases. Lastly, I think maybe continuous monitoring and updating of the AI systems are essential to address disparities and biases that may surface as technology is continuously evolving and is being used in different contexts. So this is my view of integrating inclusivity in AI development.
Okay, I want to follow up on that, because the development of AI tools is kind of mirroring the early days of the internet. And I remember, I think we remember when the internet came about. I think one of the things that shocked a lot of people is the democratization of information meant that there could be people out there that could say or do really crazy things, and you had very little control over it. I mean, you might have some legal restrictions within a country, but then you just have people move their server to a country that didn't care about that, and it would keep doing its thing. And because the internet is for the most part, it's a borderless system. Like there's no real way to stomp these things out. We still grapple with that today. You can't stomp out racism or alternative forms of belief or whatever from the internet. It's just going to be there. And I feel like if like a lot of the major AI tools right now have safeguards in place. If you try to provoke something that's racist or bigoted or violent or something like that, they'll stop. Like you can't use a lot of the image generating tools to generate lewd photos, for example. So AI is both the cause of and the solution of these issues. So I want to follow up with you, Insha, in terms of given that, like, if we could do everything you said, right? But then someone else is going to say, something, I want to build a racist AI tool with a racist LLM and allow the AI to not just talk about certain things, but kind of believe certain things and propagate those. What do we do about that? How do we we can control our environments, but we can't control other people's environments. So is there a way you think that we can still use good AI to counter bad AI?
Yes, I think having that right mindset of educating ourselves on the good AI and the bad AI aspects, and educating like on a continuous basis is what makes us different.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So following up in that, I want to open this up to you both, Rafi and Faisal. So we want to build, for example, responsible AI tools. So let's dig down a little deeper. Let's talk about, for example, the transparency in the AI decision-making processes, building user trust. So let's start there. Like, if I'm coming to an AI system and I want to believe that you're not going to lead me down a path, or say you're a parent. I don't want my child using an AI who's going to basically say, don't listen to your parents. This is what's right. How can we build that trust and build that transparency as actually you were talking about, Faisal?
Sure. So, Syed, we have seen how emerging technology has evolved. We come from the era where internet, played a very major role in transforming people's life. And when internet came, we saw a lot of issues with internet. And over the years, things have matured, and we have put right regulations, right controls, right guardrails, and we have established the right governance and the right processes. And I would say that AI has to have that component. So when you are, in the ecosystem of developing AI, when you are developing, testing, and deploying, what kind of governance and what kind of process are laid out to make sure that the development, testing, and deployment has a sense of responsibility, is transparent, and the data is of ethical standards. And back to Insha's point, um, I and I was brought up on developing a system, and when I looked at the stakeholders, when I looked at the developers, and when I looked at the people who would be who are inputting business decisions, and there was something which is missing. Right, I did not see the diversity, and the developers were mainly from low cost location, right? Because that's what companies are doing. They are hiring developers at low cost location. So there is no, in terms of, there is no diversity as to what developers' mindsets are, right? And I did not look at, even in the business. The business was inputting decisions or data which was totally biased, right? And I'm not saying why it was biased, because we knew who those people were, and we said that yes, it would be biased. And even at the testing level, I could see that the team did not have the right training to test that model. So in that entire ecosystem, to make your system transparent, explainable, and you have to go back at the basic process of the team composition. You have to look at what their experiences are, what they bring to the table, and in that entire ecosystem, which is again developing, testing, and deployment, you have to make sure that people have the right framework and the right mindset to ensure that all aspects of risk and adverse outcomes are addressed. And as technologists, we know that no system designed at initial level is 100% perfect, right? There is a process. It goes, and I mean, Microsoft launches products which has a lot of bugs, which has a lot of issues. Same thing AI systems would be. AI systems would have biases, would have bugs, and these bugs could be could violate our standards or principles of morality. So we have to continuously make sure that we are tuning those systems based on, Shahed, you were mentioning the closed loop, and only then we can say that yes, this system is is accurate and expresses the right outcome which we are desiring.
Do you think that AI could be used as a tool to help further this? So like the whole process of monitoring, suggesting, cleaning data sources, etc. Can we actually use AI to help us do that job, to govern AI?
Oh yeah. So a lot of work has been done. There is an organization, Algorithm Watch, and this it's a non-profit organization, and it basically focuses on explainable and traceable algorithm, and they kind of use AI to make sure that these algorithms are explainable and traceable. And there is one more nonprofit institute, which is part of the New York University, and they look at the social implications of artificial intelligence. And that institute is AI Now Institute. And DARPA, which we all know because internet came from DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, and they are putting a framework which promotes explainable AI and AI research. So there are organizations, and there are several more. CHAI, which is Center for Human Compatible Artificial Intelligence, and they are focusing on promoting trustworthy and making sure that these systems and these algorithms are proving beneficial to the humanity. So as we see AI organizations, as we see companies developing AI systems, we do see ecosystem of these organizations developing, which is going to put some checks and balances. And these are all AI based algorithms. So of course AI is being used to make sure that the AI is explainable, trustworthy, and does not have that risk and adverse outcome.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm wondering if any of the panelists can discuss a case study or an example of an AI system that is doing it right, that is actually aligned with ethical guidelines and human-centric principles. I have one that I can discuss, but I'm going to open it up to you all first. If there's any examples you see out there that are working.
I mean, I can talk, but Insha, if you want to go ahead, or Rafi, you want to go ahead, please go ahead.
I think I can just give like a brief example of DALI, which is inclusive and which is like very diverse in nature. So that would be like one of the example of a case study. Mm-hmm. I will open up to Rafiuddin for further elaboration.
But I don't have a case study, Shahed, and I don't know if there's one that we can, comprehensively claim. But I'm curious to hear
sure.
If there's like
I'll toss one out
of them. But I do want to bring something up, which is in context of the sphere of the biases that is being pronounced now with what's happening in Palestine, and I just want to link it directly to what's happening in AI. So let's just kind of link the great frameworks, Faisal and Insha, you talked about in terms of what's required, how we should approach ethics in AI, and the processes technically and ensuring quality and mindset, so forth. Let's link it to our communities, in particular the Islamic communities who continue to face some unique challenges when it comes to biases, and I think it would be good for us to address that in this discussion as well. So first thing I would, so that's one point, and I think my thinking there is, if we don't have any leverage in these big AI platforms and LLMs and technology companies, if we don't have leverage, i.e. if we don't have our own technology platform significant size, which are primarily all, as Shahed pointed out, anchored in the United States and, with a little bit of spark here and there in China and so forth efforts. If we don't have leverage, I don't know how we can influence all these great models and framework. And, beyond what Insha and Faisal you mentioned, obviously there's a layer of Islamic ethics and values we want to embed it potentially, right? Who and how? My question is, there's enough academia that's coming out and saying this is how it should be, right? These are the principles that in algorithms and in the design of AI we should consider from our unique values point of view. So that additional context of the 2 billion young global Muslim technologists or technology users are able to benefit from. But the question is, do we have the leverage? Who and how is going to happen? And I think this, we can theorize the solution, but if we don't have the leverage, I don't know if we'll be able to make it happen. On that note, as we've heard, and I don't know if this will play into that, but we know Saudi Arabia announced this big $40 billion AI fund, probably one of the largest in the world. And UAE is making some forays in it as well. We don't know if, the ethics from our Islamic values point of view will be front and center in that initiative or not. But I think if we don't have that type of a scale of leverage, I don't know if how we'll be able to incorporate it.
Okay. So the example I wanted to bring up actually was hold on one second. Let me see if I can share this with you. Was a tool that my company worked on called Ansari Chat. It was the brainchild of a visionary guy named Walid Qaddous. And for this chat bot, we really had to kind of figure out, because it's based on an LLM that's based on not just Quran and Hadith, but like a lot of scholarly works. And there's a couple of ethical principles that this is bringing forth. One is, of course, you're asking a chatbot to replace a very personal relationship that you would have with scholars. This is very sensitive stuff. People can ask very sensitive questions, and of course, that there's a diversity of opinion and belief in the Islamic kind of corpus. And so, to be able to handle that with respect and with dignity, and not throwing certain Muslims under the bus in response to a question, is something that this team has had to really grapple with. So I encourage people to go ahead and play with that tool and figure out for themselves if this team has actually done a good job of making that happen. So I just wanted to highlight that as an example of a group of people who are trying to embody the ethics and the sensitivity of material, but also leveraging the power of AI to be, essentially a digital scholar in a place where a lot of people may not have access to them. It's still pretty much of a luxury. But I wanted to use that as a pivot point to go into privacy and data privacy. One of the more alarming things that I found is, and I encourage people to try this for themselves. I asked ChatGPT to write a bio of myself, just based on what it would scrape off the internet. And it was amazing how confidently it claimed I did stuff I didn't do, or it confidently, described me in a way that, was like maybe 75% true. And that was kind of alarming for me, because like if people take that as authoritative, then they're clearly getting something that's wrong. And the other part about it is that, it's pulling up stuff about me that I didn't think was kind of public information. So let's talk about AI privacy a little bit, because as these tools develop and get more personal, when you're carrying around personal devices, there's a lot of AI tools, for example, that are going to dig into your inbox and summarize your inbox and like use that as an LLM. I mean, there are issues there. So I want to, let me throw this to let's see, let's hear from Rafi on this one, and of course anyone. We're now getting to that place where these are going to be real issues, and it's going to cause alarms. So how do we handle data privacy in these AI tools?
Mm-hmm. Now there's a lot of we see a lot of organizations such as the ones Faisal has mentioned, who are coming up that help organizations self-police, perhaps through some privacy guidelines and some standards and so forth. I mean, I'm wondering if there's a need from this very fundamental point, Shahed, of handling privacy with scenarios and situations that are going to be completely new through some type of governmental regulations, or at least, for example, in the medicine doctor community, doctors take an oath, an oath of ethics. So from a privacy point of view, do the creators of the developers, the technologists, they have to be subject to some kind of a guideline that is regulated or has some kind of honor code principle? I mean, these would be some initial thoughts I have on the role of internationally. For example, we have ISO standards. Let's take food as a sector. Food safety and healthy food. It's an important topic for all of us. So you have regulations and standards, and they're they're audited, they're inspected. But from a privacy point of view, should there be standards set up, and then they should be regulated and followed through? Would be my initial comment.
Do you think it's possible? We talked earlier about how you're already starting to see lawsuits being brought up by artists and creative people who are saying that you're training your models on our work and we're not benefiting. People are paying you for your tools, but we're not getting any benefit of that. There are now tools that I've been playing with that generate. You give it a prompt and it'll generate an entire song based on the style of an artist, or even based on the lyrical content of an artist. It'll basically make up a new song that could be from that artist. This is really like treading on very dangerous ground, because like you would listen to this, you're like, that could have been that artist. Do you think it's possible, technically, that if somebody generates something like that, that a micro payment could be made to the sources of that LLM, or is it just too? It's just too distributed. Like there's no way to track it even.
If I can just quickly comment on that. To me, I have a bit of a contrarian view on it. I think it's a little silly to go down that road, because, we all learn from others, right? So I could tomorrow extend this and say, if I'm learning by listening, or Shahed, I come up with a new song and I was inspired by 3 other, songs. Am I now going to be subject to saying, oh, that tune sounded something like that? And so now I need to factor in a micropayment to that person, or we have a claim. So of course there should be a line to this, but I think the conversations happening right now, the concern right now, I think is a little going a little silly and to the extreme. But I think of course, if you have chunks of it's almost like plagiarized, and chunks of, so there should be some kind of a line, but not to the extent I think that there is some conversation happening that everything should be.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So Shahed,
please.
I just want to kind of add one thing on that. We know when we were in college back in 80s, we studied decision support systems, DSS, right? You clearly remember. And the only reason that technology did not evolve to where it is today, because internet was missing, right? And when internet came, because of internet, all of these data commoditization, data federalism, or data became more subjective and data became more open. That is how AI systems are trained. Most of the AI systems are trained on data which is available on internet. And what LLMs do is that they kind of create these large sets of data into a neural network, and the outcomes could be one in many, or many in one. And so it will be very difficult, because sometimes we don't even know it is so complex. And there are examples that the complexity of these data sets and LLMs are so complex that you lose control. And there are a couple of examples. Amazon launched AI to hire resources, and all of a sudden they saw that most of the applicants who are from minority are not being elected, or not being selected. And why? Because the data sets, the kind of people who had worked in the past in Amazon were not minority; they were all majority. Right?
Yeah.
So that effect is so humongous and so huge that you can't control it. So coming back to your point, that can we make micropayments to to the creator of those data. And yes, you could do that, but how that LLMs are making decision, that is very complex. It's very difficult to find out.
Definitely. I would agree with you. I think that that's something people are thinking about, but like when they really take that to its logical conclusion, you're talking about billions of transactions and billions of possible connections. And then how do you say who owns an idea that came out on the internet? Like there's no copyright. There's none of that. Because people have been just throwing their opinions on the internet for free. So
absolutely.
I want to. My next question is for Insha. I want to focus on AI being a product of our time, and AI. We decree AI output to be successful because it's mapping to what our current societal norms and values are. If the same AI that's giving output today that we like was done 30, 40 years ago, it would have been like, you're some alien from another planet. Also, if you have an AI tool giving an answer in an American context versus an AI that's giving an answer in an Indian context or an Indonesian context or a Russian context, those AIs are going to kind of map to those societies because they're going to force them to conform to their societal norms. So how can we so how do societal norms and values influence the ethical frameworks used in AI development? And then more importantly, how can we adapt and evolve these frameworks so that they continue to map to what people expect of them, and that they can exist in a world where there are other AIs that have other kind of attitudes, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, societal norms and values deeply impact the ethical frameworks within which the AI systems are developed. So to ensure this, maybe these frameworks which are developed with AI must be like dynamic, and they must be like evolving with shifting societal attitudes, with incorporating some ethical understandings. Also, in terms of developers, maybe the developers and also the policy makers need to maintain an ongoing dialogue within the community to ensure that the AI reflects current ethical standards. And moreover, to add on, continuous education and awareness campaigns can help the public to understand AI's potential impacts, fostering more informed decision about the ethical use of AI. So this would be my answer to your question.
I think that's an important point I want to emphasize. There has to be a level of education to the public to not just take AI generated output as gospel. There needs to be a healthy skepticism. And by the way, we did this with the internet. How many times have I gone to my parents and said, don't believe everything you see on the internet? We have to generate that same kind of skepticism as, just like if a stranger approaches you and tells something, you're not going to believe them just because they said something. It's a stranger. You don't know about it. And same with AI. You don't know what fed into its answer. So it's fine to take it and as one of the things you consider, but not to take it as the truth. We've got a few minutes left, and I want to talk about something really difficult, because a lot of this conversation we've had now has been kind of dancing around I think some of the biggest concerns that people have, and I really want to open this up so that we can grapple with this head on. The potential of AI to be weaponized and to do real harm to people is phenomenal. I mean, we talk about, for example, deep fakes, right? I'm going to talk about some open examples. I'm not doing this to suggest that people do these things, but the fact that deep fakes can generate, fake nudes of people, imagine like in a Muslim context, Muslim women who cover their hair, people could use AI to take off their hijabs. It's like really invasive things. And then all the way up to, and we're seeing this now in Palestine, for example, using AI to develop kill lists of people, using AI to figure out who deserves to live and who deserves to die. We're treading on some really dangerous ground here. And I feel sometimes that the efforts being put into those are greater than the efforts to try to police it or to try to counter it. So we know these things are happening. We know that, frankly, there's not going to be a way to really stop it all. But what do we do if we really, if we truly believe that AI can be a benefit for humanity, which I believe it can? How do we approach this? How do we deal with this? And I'll really open that up to anyone who wants to tackle that.
So Shahed, it's kind of important to know that many of the companies who are pioneers in developing AI ethics and frameworks and standards, those companies are also involved in a lot of weaponization, which is against Palestinians right now, could be against Muslims, or could be against any community, right?
Right.
And that is sad because these companies, and I would not name, most of you know these companies. These companies have been pioneers. These companies are the foundation of emerging technology, and it's sad to know that at one platform they kind of profess that we are the one who are developing standards and frameworks and ethics, and then their tools and they are signing contracts, which is basically killing minorities or killing a particular community. So we know that, right? And that is happening now. As technologists, as developers, as policymakers, as people who are consuming these technology, as consumers, the concept of training, improving, and monitoring, right? We have to kind of adopt that lifestyle, and we have to be always making sure that we are training, monitoring, and improving, from context of if you're a policymaker, if you are sitting on the board, we have to have these discussions. I don't think we are having these discussions. Even we know in masajids, right? Masajids boards have to talk about AI and AI ethics. We are not at that point. So how do we get to that point? One, bring these companies, when you have, when you are at that, if you have that voice, bring these companies and make sure that these companies are adopting those standards and frameworks which they are advocating. And otherwise, it's saying something and then doing something else, and that has been happening.
You bring up a really good point that I want to build on. Throughout Islamic history, the ethics and values of Muslim societies had always been anchored in tradition, had been anchored in lines of scholarship, had been anchored in communities that had actual people helping to create, interpret, and apply the ethics of that particular community. And then what happened is that when the internet came along, it started to break down the walls that existed between these groups of people. And so all of a sudden, Muslims discovered other Muslims that believed differently from them. And it countered what they thought of as the ethical tradition that they thought was the Islamic ethical tradition. And and Muslim societies have grappled with that over the last 30 years. I think Muslim societies have realized that there's diversity within Muslim communities, and they all have their place within a greater Muslim society. But AI is now taking that to another level, where it's not just about discovering that other people think in different ways, but now people, humans are at their heart lazy people. Like we're starting to outsource a lot of our ethical thinking to these tools. Again, this is this challenge that we did with Ansari Chat. Is the challenge is how do How do you create a tool that assists in this process but does not become the replacement of the process? And so in that context of Muslim societies, how can we do that training that you're talking about? How do we really get people in general, but Muslims in particular, to contextualize AI so that it doesn't we're not led by it like mindlessly, that we actually are the ones in control, not the AI. And that's open to anyone.
If I can just start on that by saying, first of all, with the great example of Ansari Shahed that you said, at minimum, the ethics frameworks related to the diversity of Muslim communities in Islam should be led by, and so there should be a corpus of the ethical guidelines and principles that would apply to the different scenarios, across sectors, across segments, from tech development, financial services, food value chain, transparency, everything. So I think at minimum we should, and I think there are initiatives like Ansari Chat where at least we're taking ownership. When you have ownership in creating such a sensitive, important AI that's going to evaluate and give you religious opinions of sort, right? Referencing the authentic sources, it's important that it's produced by us, right? So I would bring back my earlier point. I think the broader challenge that you asked about, the issues of the deep fakes and the kill lists and all of these things, I think without us ultimately having some leverage and control over these tools, we can keep lobbying for it. But when things come to head, if it's against the views of the others who don't agree with those views, we will only be, we'll be stuck with types of dilemmas we're facing on social media now, where, the views of Muslims are being suppressed, which we feel strongly are unfair. So, but you don't control them. So I would strongly submit that without having control over some of these major AI platforms, we will be in a similar situation, and worse, given the severity, Shahed, you've highlighted that AI is going to bring to us.
And I think, just to emphasize, I don't think this is a Muslim specific thing. I mean, we're not just advocating for ourselves when we talk about these things. We're advocating for any community that could be. It's been rightfully said. Today AI is using to track Palestinians. Tomorrow it's used to track dissenters of any government.
Yep.
And so when we advocate for these things, we're advocating for them for humanity, not just for Muslims. Any other thoughts on this issue? Because this is the one that keeps me up at night, to be frank.
So Shahed, I think you brought the Islamic history. I have read some history, and how the scholars in Islam, when they did not adopt the printing technology 300 years ago, how they fell behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of talks, there are a lot of historical significance about that why did we not adopt printing. And I'm afraid that we are at a level where in general, and you're right, communities who today it could be Muslims, or communities who don't have that resources, right? And they will fall behind because the technology is moving so fast. The technology is, requires talent, and those talents are not available in the community, which basically are deprived right now. And that's a real issue where, and I see that, it is going to benefit only the rich and the powerful. And how do we fight that? We have to go back and see that what mistake we did when we did not adopt, and again, I'm talking about the Muslim community, when we did not adopt printing, and we let scholars, kind of continue with their calligraphy and writing. We have to kind of adopt the same principle to this technology right now and see what needs to be done. there is no magic bullet right now. There has not much work being done, and I'm afraid. And I hope that the young generation, folks like Insha, they are going to solve this problem. And
Agreed.
I mean, we are dependent upon these the next generation, and hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, they would be the one to come up with a solution. But I have not seen, the community in general coming up with what needs to be done. There are no conversations happening. This is a great forum. At least Halal Travel. They are trying to do something to talk about AI and AI ethics. So this is a great forum to talk about it and see what needs to be done.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree. And I think that the message I'm hearing from all three of you is, I mean, even if we don't have the specific answers to a lot of these challenges, and I don't expect us to, because this is still very young, but the message I'm hearing from all three of you is we have to be involved. The answer to bad speech is more speech. The answer to being marginalized is to force yourself into the room and force yourself into the table so that you can have those conversations with the rest of them. And break this cycle that we've already seen with the early implementations of AI. A tiny group of people, govern that tool, and it reflects that tiny group of people. So to educate not just Muslims but all marginalized communities to take ownership over the emergence of this field and to be actively involved in the governance, be actively involved in the technology, be actively involved in the data privacy issues, whichever ones they're best suited for. That's the message I'm hearing from all three of you, and I really appreciate that, because that's where I was hoping it would go. I don't think any of us has facile answers for any of these things. Everybody's grappling with them. But if there's any closing remarks, we're back to the last few minutes of this hour. If there's any closing remarks that any of you want to have, we can wrap up this panel. It's been really, really educational.
Thank you, everyone. I really enjoyed it. I think I learned a lot myself, and hopefully the audience will be. And as Faisal said, this is we need more platforms like this. We need to have more of these conversations. I think we've just scratched the surface, I mean, the title of AI and ethics, and I think the first question is, what ethics? What is this ethics that we're talking about? I mean, I think that itself needs to be defined, because it may be different and varied across, the universe. So anyway, but thank you, wonderful, and really thank from my side, appreciate Shahed for a wonderful moderation as well.
Right.
No, thank you, Shahed, for moderating the session. Thank you to the audience for taking the time to listen to us. And we definitely think that there is a lot more to be done. As I initially remarked, that I don't see AI ethics as a framework or as a guiding principle. I see this as a multidisciplinary field. And when I say multidisciplinary field, it would evolve into so many disciplines, social, socio-economic, political, kind of technology, even psychology, sociology. All of these things will culminate into, and it will become a multidisciplinary field of AI ethics, and that's what I envision. And a lot of big companies, they are saying that this will evolve into a multidisciplinary field. So thank you, Halal in Travel Global Summit, for hosting the session, and we look forward to more of these productive sessions in future.
Excellent. Insha, any last words?
Thank you so much, Shahed, and thank you everyone for having me here. It was truly insightful. Like me being a young entrepreneur, I got to learn many different things, many different insights from all the panelists, and I hope to be a brighter vision for the Muslim community.
We're counting on you.
Yeah.
And your generation. It's all in your hands. Look, on behalf of Crescent Rating and the Global Halal Summit, just thank you for all of you for joining this important conversation. Please continue the conversation in your communities. This is just the start. Look, it's up to us to make sure that AI is a benefit for all people and not going to harm us. So please take it personally. So thank you to the panelists. Thank you, everybody. This concludes the session.